It's time for a look at some of those stories making headlines in the science world this week, including a plan to send life to Mars and film it for Dutch TV. The first new research has found that 20th century temperatures in almost all regions were higher than in the preceding 5 centuries. For more on this, I'm joined now by Steve Pointing, Director of AUT's Earth and Oceanic Sciences Research Institute, which is definitely a mouthful. Is this new research consistent with other findings, Steve?
Yes, it is, Simon. There have been several studies recently that have all come up with very similar findings, and they've used pretty robust data sets. You know, they're basically using the cutting edge of what we're able to do in terms of scientific inquiry, and they all agree that the temperature changes in the last half century have basically wiped out the general cooling trend of the previous 1,500 years or so.
So how do they know that? Because there's been no scientific data collected for the last X thousand years on the southern hemisphere.
That's interesting. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But fortunately, as scientists, we have access to a lot of records, such as tree ring dendrochronology, such as paleo data in ice cores and also in ocean sediments. And these are essentially free gifts to us.
Nature has collected the data for you and you've been interpreting. All right. Well, let's talk about another planet, the proposal to send people to Mars to establish a colony and film it into one big giant TV reality show. How realistic is it?
Wow. When I first saw this story, I thought it was Goldmember rearing his ugly head again. To be honest, I don't think it's realistic. It would take 6 months to get there. If the radiation didn't kill humans, then the cold temperatures and lack of food may certainly do that. Mars is really only fit for perhaps tiny, very basic microbes at this point in time.
Right. Okay. You've done some work with NASA over the years about this, and that's so it could only sustain, really simple life form.
Probably at this stage, the debate is whether it could sustain any life. A lot of people believe that Mars was once habitable, and ironically, in the future, as Earth gets hotter and becomes uninhabitable for humans, we probably will have to go there. But that's a billion years in the future.
A billion years in the future.
So we've got
not
a bit of time.
2023.
Yeah, we've got enough time to save up.
So a bit of time to get the cameras in place for the reality show of the first humans being over there.
That's right.
But this captures people's imaginations, though, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's fascinating, and anything that gets people thinking about that wonderful, our place in the cosmos scenario, I think it's great. It's really good.
All right, let's talk sustainability back home again, and the Germans leading the way with green algae-powered building. I mean, is that actual feasible to have algae powering your building?
Yeah, well, in theory, they're just like nature's own solar cells. They are miniature photovoltaic cells. They convert sunlight, water and carbon dioxide into their own bioenergy, much like our solar panels on our roofs do.
Right.
But the main reason for having those on the building at present is to maintain thermal and noise reduction, which you could do with a tank full of water on there anyway.
Right.
It's kind of like a big algal lava lamp.
Okay, I mean, we're looking at pictures of it now. But do you think it has the potential to be an alternative form of energy production?
Absolutely. Yeah. I really applaud the idea of aiming for a carbon neutral building. It's wonderful. The idea that even if you're unable to realise the potential of creating power from these algae, what you can do, of course, is use their biomass, their bodies, to create fuel in another scenario. So yes, it's a great idea, and I applaud it.
All right, another one for the future. Steve Pointing, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.